Welcome to the F1 Debate Show. Honda pushes for a big decision.
And an Australian has a good idea.
And we reveal some F1 Debate Show plans. Once upon a time, McLaren were beating Mercedes in the Constructors' Championship, or at least giving them a good fight. This year, on the other hand, and just round 9, not even halfway through the season, McLaren are 248 points behind Mercedes, and 3 points behind Sauber and last place. So it's not very good for McLaren. Obviously, Fernando Alonso just finished the race in Baku to score McLaren's 2 points. Obviously, you only have 2 points on the grid. As I said, 3 points behind Sauber, once 5. Obviously, plumb last, something that they will not want to hear again. And almost every single F1 debate show we've made has been about McLaren, about Button, about Van Dorn, and about Alonso. And obviously, this one is back to Alonso because basically, obviously, McLaren's woes, well, they started before the 2017 season even started. They started back in 2015. They started when Fernando Alonso did his very famous GP2 engine, or now we should say Formula 2 engine. So obviously, that started it off. But 2017 was not going to be very good, especially after pre-season testing. And obviously, as you will all know, Fernando Alonso started calling Honda. They started calling them bad names like meanie and a silly team and, you know, big, stupid face and bad names. Names that Honda didn't want here. And then Honda started thinking, well, okay, we're going to pull our act together. But then they started thinking, well, no, we don't have to. We've got an okay car and we want to stay with McLaren. So I tell you what, McLaren, and then they once got together. They got obviously Zach Brown together and people like that together. They all sat down on the table and they all started saying, well, I tell you what, guys, just think about it logically. Okay, Honda's not the problem. We're not the problem. Honda's speaking, by the way. We're not the problem. McLaren then say, we're not the problem. Then Van Dorn says, well, I'm not the problem. So then they all start shaking their heads and going, right, okay, who is the problem in McLaren? Oh, it's Alonso. So obviously then they all go, right, okay, it's Fernando Alonso. Here is the problem. He is the person who's basically kicking up a fuss about nothing, because obviously Honda, as Honda would say, we've got an amazing car that are finishing races and blah blah blah, even though they've finished less than half of the races this year, and obviously, as I say, 2 points, plumb last. Come on, what's happening? Yes. Anyway, so in the last few days, Honda have said that we're basically nudging Fernando Alonso out of the door. Obviously, as we know, Fernando Alonso ends his contract at the end of this year. Obviously, for the end of 2017, start of 2018 season, he wants to be in Formula 1. We don't really know if he wants to be with McLaren. I was about to say he wants to be with McLaren, but we don't know that. But anyway, now Honda are saying, come on, Fernando, just get out of the door. We don't really want you in the team anymore, because basically Honda, they've said that they're happy to stay with McLaren. They've said, even though a few episodes ago, again, we hold our hands up and say that McLaren were just about to kick Honda out, which, I mean, there was a lot of talk about, and I mean, don't get at us, because we obviously following the public opinion, we definitely thought that, they were out the door, because, I mean, come on guys, 2 points, that's pathetic, honestly, as Sebastian Vettel would say, that's not great from them. But Honda are saying that now they're happy with McLaren. They want to stay with McLaren for the next few years. McLaren haven't said that we're delighted to keep Honda, but it looks like it's going to be another Honda partnership in 2018, which is a shame. And obviously with Sauber Honda and things like that, which we'll definitely discuss later on, because obviously, as you know, Honda, they wouldn't just supply one team, they supply 2 teams, obviously McLaren and Sauber. But we'll get onto that obviously later on, because Honda's a massive topic. Massive, because are they destroying Formula 1 or are they helping Formula 1? But we'll talk about that on another day. As I said, today is about Fernando Alonso. So basically, Honda is saying that Fernando Alonso, you've criticised Honda way too much. You criticised us at winter testing, you criticised us before Australia, you criticised us almost every single time, even a little bit in interviews. You criticised us obviously, after Russia, the Russian Grand Prix, which obviously, as you remember, we parked up on the formation lap. You criticised us after the Indy 500, because obviously, as you know, Honda power still. You criticised us after Canada, after pulling over. And you're probably telling some fans in the Canadian grandstands about us. Look at Honda, how crap away. You know what I mean. And that's not good from Honda. But they're basically saying that McLaren, that, you know, Alonso, just stop with your, you know, going on about it. We basically want to stay with McLaren. We're happy to stay with McLaren, and McLaren look like they're going to be happy to stay with us. So basically, if you're not happy about it, you know, there's the door, and we really don't want you staying in the team anymore. That's a strange move. It very is strange, because it's not really that common to say that an engine supplier like that has actually said that we don't want that guy in. But there's a big thing, and there's a big reason why Honda, along with McLaren, but it's more so Honda, that have said this reason. And that's because of Fernando Alonso's salary in Formula 1. So I'll just give you some stats, okay? So, Stoffel Van Dorn, So Stoffel Van Dorn, a year, or at least this year, you know, his first season in Formula 1, he earns 920,000 euros a year, okay? So just shy of $1 million, and you might think that's, you know, pretty lazy for a Formula 1 driver. But not till you hear Fernando Alonso's, okay? So you've got Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton, two amazing drivers, and obviously, as I say, you know, two great drivers. Many championships between them. You know, what you used to think they're the best, and obviously in cars and teams that are dominating. And then Fernando Alonso's is just shy of 50 million euros a year. Now that's crazy. Wow. He makes that a year. And I'm going to say I was really shocked to find that out, because obviously he's a driver he's great. He's won 2 world championships, but I mean his first was 12 years ago in Formula 1. It was 12 years ago in 2005, and obviously his second one 2006, 11 years ago. So like, where does that 50 million even go to? And does he even want that? You know, what's the deal with that? But yes, anyway, 50 million euros, and basically Honda is saying that we're sick, we can't pay Fernando that amount. We can use that money for better things, to, you know, revamp the engine, revamp the team, and basically, you know, save some money on the way. But obviously that's one of the big reasons. That's obviously that's what's being printed in this big news story, that the salary of Fernando Alonso is way too high in terms of this. But obviously, as a great driver comes great, you know, price they'll have to fork out. But at the whole, though, this is a very strange story that Honda have come out with, basically saying to Fernando Alonso that we don't want you in the team. We want to continue our partnership, but we want Van Dorn, and we want another driver, you know, potentially Jenson Button or somebody else, but, you know, whoever it is, unless obviously it's Sebastian Vettel or Lewis Hamilton, unless it's one of those two, it's not going to be the same spec as Fernando Alonso, because obviously, I mean, you can't, you know, he's 2-time world champion, very skilled, you know, obviously a very nice guy to have in the team. We thought he was very secure, and obviously somebody who they want, you know, to succeed. And as I say, I mean, you know, 2 points, they were scored by Fernando, not Stoffel. You know what I mean? So if anything, you know, in terms of, like, they have both the same crapness of cars, and obviously Fernando was bringing them through to get points. But that is a strange thing to say by Honda, that basically they're saying that we want McLaren to kick out Fernando, you know, save money on his salary, because obviously we want their partnership to continue. And, you know, Fernando is not happy, and basically all he's going to do is just keep hounding us. He's going to keep hounding the team, he's going to keep hounding Honda, basically for a better car, and we can only give him the car that we're building him. And I know it's a bit shabby of Honda to say, but, you know, that their car that they're giving McLaren, you know, either do what Stoffel is and just keep your mouth shut, Fernando, or just drive the car. You know, there's only one option actually on the table. There's only one option, and that's just keep your mouth shut like Stoffel is, and just drive the car. That was a weird thing. But obviously, on the flip side of that, okay, is basically, as you know, Fernando Alonso's contract ends at the end of this year, as I said, and Fernando wants to go somewhere else. The talks of him staying in Formula 1 are massive, meaning that he wants to stay in Formula 1, but he said that he wants to wait until the start of the second part of the season, obviously, you know, around Italy time, you know, silly season as we call it, before he makes his decision on when he's staying in Formula 1. And he said that obviously he wants to win a race at least this season. And the chances of that happening are, well, Jordan, do you want to see what the chances are of that? None.
Zilch.
None, exactly. Nilch, zilch. A big fat zero. Whatever zero is in Spanish, which I think is zero, you know, just that'll do. Zero, yes, of course. So obviously he'll, you know, that'll never happen. But he wants to stay in Formula 1, and wherever that's going to be, that is a massive thing to talk about. Is it going to be Williams? Is he going to maybe replace Lance Stroll? Is it going to be Mercedes? Is he going to replace Valtteri Bottas? But the big news, and this might be big, this is big news, well, the internet says it's big news, but we might not think it's big news, because obviously it's, you know, we might have thought he would go back there. And that's obviously his old team of Ferrari. Great team. Fernando Alonso is one of the only guys in the peloton guys. Sorry, they were watching the Tour de France. The only guys in the grid, on the grid, who speaks fluent Italian. He speaks Spanish, obviously. I think it would be a bit pointless if he didn't. And then he speaks fluent Italian. I don't know what else he speaks, but he speaks fluent Italian. And that's obviously what he used to do. Him and, obviously in those days it was Andrea Stella. Him and his race engineer Andreas, they used to talk in Italian all the time, and that was almost like their bit of their code. But it was great to hear that. And obviously, you guys probably heard obviously one of his most famous races, Valencia 2012. That's where they said every single transition radio message, in Italian, which is obviously very special for them. So as well as speaks Italian, which is great, he might be going back to Ferrari, replacing. And obviously this isn't confirmed that he's leaving, but it probably is going to be Kimi Räikkönen, obviously the Iceman, the 2007 World Champion with Ferrari, the guy who, he's been with Ferrari for a few years now, obviously returned back to Ferrari, obviously after, as I say, he won the championship in 2007, and he might be on his way out. He might be finally going to get an ice cream, and he might finally be saying, "Boy, I'm leaving Formula 1 now," because he's had enough. And then obviously he might be opening the door for Fernando Alonso. Obviously the great guy, who, as I say, was at Ferrari in the past. He joined in 2010 for the 2010 season, was there in 2010, 11, 12, a great season in 2012 by the way. Second in the World Championship, I think it was, or at least he was battling Sebastian Vettel, obviously for the win. Fantastic that, absolutely fantastic guy. And obviously, unfortunately, lost it in Brazil. 2013, obviously, and then he finally gave 2014 as well, and then he finally gave the reins, obviously, to Vettel. Kimi Räikkönen, sorry, and then obviously he went to McLaren. So he might return back to the Scuderia, which would be great to see. Yeah. But the first part, that's the big news, the first part, and that's the thing that it's really strange to get your head around. Why have Honda done that? But maybe it's all for a good thing, because, or is it going to be, is it almost like jump before you're pushed? And is Fernando on the way to Ferrari, and Honda are trying to catch up with that news? This is like the messenger dropping behind, going, hang on a minute, Fernando, I've got a message for you. Honda want you out. And he's like, well, no, mate, go away, because I'm going to Ferrari. My mind's already made up. So, John, that's a lot of information to take. So on the first part is obviously McLaren, Honda want McLaren to kick Fernando out. Because obviously they want to continue his partnership, and they know Fernando are going to give them a hard time, and they really don't want that headache anymore. And the second part is, do you think Fernando should go to Ferrari? Obviously, the first part because of what's happening with McLaren, that 2 points, and as I say, 248 points behind the team that they were once kicking by about 40 points, and about 60, 80, 100 points or something in the World Championship constructors a few years ago. And obviously, especially now that Honda, or he's heard the news that Honda want him out, do you think he will go because of this news, or what do you think will happen? I mean, it's so strange with Fernando.
It actually is, because it's just mind-boggling right now, because obviously Alonso has quoted that he wants to be at a championship winning team. He wants to be winning in 2018. That is his goal. It's not about being at Mercedes, a Ferrari, a Renault, or wherever. He wants to win. And if that's not in Formula 1, it could be in endurance racing. It could be in IndyCar. It could be in literally anything. Alonso wants to win. That is the objective for Fernando Alonso. Now, he's got to try and think about the best options available for him. Now, for Honda to actually say that they want Fernando out, I think it's absolutely pathetic from Honda. After the engine they've given McLaren. Now, them saying, okay, the partnership is working well, we are happy with McLaren. No, hang on a second. Let's think about this for a bit. All the way back in 1966, when McLaren first came into the sport, a young lad from New Zealand, Bruce McLaren, blood, sweat and tears, built this team in a shed back in New Zealand, and basically put them in Formula 1 and, set the foundations to what would become one of the best teams and one of the most successful teams in Formula 1 history. The second most successful team, just behind Ferrari. So obviously, when Bruce McLaren's daddy passed away in Goodwood, the legacy of McLaren would still then go on. So obviously, you've got to think about the history that this team's had, and obviously how it all started. So with Honda coming in now and saying that this partnership is great, we don't want Alonso because he's criticising us. He's got every right to criticise you. Okay, Stoffel isn't saying anything because Stoffel hasn't been in Formula 1 long enough to actually win races. That's like Marcus Ericsson criticising Sauber because they're not winning. It's like, well, of course he's not going to win because they haven't got the facilities and they haven't got the the funding because of where they're finished, or obviously of the engines that they've got or the parts that they've got. That's the same with Stoffel Van Dorn. He can't say, well, McLaren, I'm not winning. It's like, well, of course you're going to be winning. So obviously, and Stoffel's only been for one season, so he's going to be like, I'm not used to winning. I haven't been, done the experience. Alonso's been there, done that. He's been to the top and came back down again, and he wants to get back to the top before he says goodbye to motorsport. And he's got every right to say criticise him, because like he's the king right now. Honda, get down on your knees and worship that guy. That's what they should be doing. Just go, anything you want, Fernando, anything you want. Because quite frankly, without Fernando Alonso in McLaren, it could be a lot worse. No disrespect to any F1 drivers. I have said before, Jensen Button, great driver, not as good as Fernando in my opinion, because Fernando can get much out of a car than what Jensen can. Yeah. That's just my overall opinion. You guys obviously might think different. So obviously, I think for me, Honda. I mean, yes, okay, fair enough. Alonso might be on a bit too much. Obviously, he's earning the most per year than any other F1 driver, which I think it is a bit stupid in a way, judging from from where he is in the constructors. But in the drivers' championship rather. But that salary doesn't really go off performances. You know what I mean? Because obviously he isn't doing very well because he's in a bad car. If he could do better, obviously he would. So you can't say, okay, Fernando Alonso isn't that bothered because he's on 50 million a year. It's like, no, he's in a bad car. So that's like saying to a footballer, he's getting £60,000 a week, but he's playing badly. It's like he doesn't care. Well, no, he's in a bad team. So obviously the team makes him look bad. So he's not really performing that. He's doing all right. That's how it is in Formula One terms. But obviously that's my take on the Honda situation. Obviously, I'm here with them. But in the Ferrari terms now. What I've noticed is with Fernando Alonso, it's not lucky when it comes to things like world championships and stuff, because it did come out recently that he could have been driving in a Brawn in 2009, because apparently, obviously, when his first stint at McLaren, he obviously what was going on, he fell out with Ron Dennis, he fell out with everybody, obviously with the scandal and everything. Obviously, it all went pear shaped, and obviously he then went back to Renault. However, he did get an offer from Honda. Yes. Obviously, when they had their own team to go and join them in 2008. Now, what happened to Honda at the end of 2008? They folded. And then what happened to Honda at the end of 2008? Ross Brawn bought them. And obviously formed Brawn GP. They
became the miracle, the blink and you'll miss it season, as I like to say.
Exactly. Alonso could have been in that car, but no, he was with the Renault. So then he thought, okay, obviously, I don't think anyone knew this until it recently came out. So obviously, he went to Ferrari in 2010. Now, that was a good stint. However, it wasn't really as lucky because he had Red Bull dominating. So it was like, oh, okay, I should be with Red Bull. So then, obviously, the years go by. Ferrari. He's like, I can't win a title. I can't win a title. Ferrari. I can. Obviously,
he thinks he can. He's good.
Like, listen, I can't remember the head guy's name, but he's like, listen to me, Mr. Ferrari. I can make this work. Like,
Mr. Ferrari. But that's not too bad. I mean, Mr. NFC Enzo Ferrari. That's not a bad thing to say. I mean, out of all the things that Jordan has said in the world, it's not the worst thing. But yes, anyways, carry on.
Yes. So obviously he then goes to 2014 because I think Alonso's going, I'm not going to win a championship. Oh look, McLaren Honda's coming back. Look how successful they were back in the day. And so what happened to Ferrari in 2015? Sebastian Vettel wins 3 races.
Yeah.
Kind of awkward. I think Alonso could have won a lot more in that Ferrari. And then obviously 2016, it was alright. 2017, brilliant. So Alonso's just like, where is my career gone? So how annoying would it be if Fernando does go back to Ferrari for 2018, let's say, and first race in Australia? Oh look at Stoffel Van Dorn wins Australian Grand Prix. Alonso's going to be like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I think he'll quit.
Of course that's going to happen. Of course it's going to happen, Josh.
Yeah, of course it will. He'll quit there and then. And my name's Tom. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think Fernando Alonso, I don't think he'll go to Ferrari. I think he'll probably look elsewhere. I think Ferrari will actually want to bring in a younger driver through. I mean, obviously you've got like the likes of Giovinazzi, which obviously we've mentioned before. I think they'll probably look at him. I think because obviously with Kimi Räikkönen, definitely leaving, they want to bring a younger driver through instead of bringing in Alonso probably for a year to then look for another driver. But then again, they might have a plan in place because obviously Vettel is rumoured to go to Mercedes. So they might have a strategy in place, but from what I can see right now, I think I can't see Alonso going to Ferrari. I can see him go to Renault. However, should he stay in Formula One, if that fades out, I would say he might go elsewhere into IndyCar possibly, or something else, endurance racing. I would say, but I really can't say my Ferrari. But if he does end up there, obviously I hope that he does end up getting the winning car that he wants to get, Lyle, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think he's a very good driver, one of the best on the grid. He doesn't deserve to be where he needs to be, does he? So
No, exactly. He needs to. Yeah, he needs to be. It's Fernando Alonso. He's one of the best drivers on the grid. Obviously, his salary shows that. I mean, also his driving. What a great guy, but obviously, it's Honda. It's Honda that's letting him down. It's Honda, and also, I mean, criticising him as well. Criticising him because it's criticising him. It's like, yeah, we are criticising. Fernando is criticising you because you're crap. That's why. McLaren, Alonso isn't criticising you because he likes having a go at people. He's criticising you because you're crap. You were crap at him in IndyCar and you were crap at him in Formula 1, but obviously, that's a massive topic, and obviously again, it'll probably be mentioned a few more times, at least, the first half of this season, even though we're coming to an end, and as I say, I mean, not even halfway through, and obviously, these problems are being caused for Fernando, but if anything, I mean, well, for sure even, these problems, that McLaren are having, they might be pushing him further and further out the door, but to a better future. And obviously, as people say, as one door closes, another door opens. So obviously, maybe he, instead of letting the door close behind him, he shuts it firmly and then goes off and goes to Ferrari or wherever, but anywhere better than McLaren. But obviously, Fernando, one of the best drivers on the grid. It's just these problems they just shouldn't be having.
When it comes to the rules and regulations, Formula 1 is definitely one of the most complicated ones you can actually try to learn and understand. Now, obviously, one of the most talked about penalties is grid penalties. Now, Mark Webber, former F1 driver, nearly world champion, best friends with Sebastian Vettel, did you know?
Oh, best friends.
came out this week and basically criticised, drivers getting grid penalties. Now, obviously, whenever you were to get a grid penalty, it would either be something that the driver did either during qualifying or in the previous race. But you can get a penalty should the team either do something wrong with the car. Let's say, obviously, during the overnight stage between qualifying and the race, you've got a certain amount of time where you're allowed to be within the paddock, and if you're not, you get punished. Whether either that's a reprimand or whether it's a fine or whether it's even a 2-place grid penalty or a 3-place grid penalty. Now, Mark Webber did touch on that, and he said, hang on a second, if the team do something wrong, why should the driver get punished in the first place? It's like, that's just wrong, isn't it? It's not the driver's fault, that he's done that. And obviously with all these new, complicated rules coming in ever since that the new engines came in, the V6s, 1.6 litres, back in 2014, all these squabbly, rubbish, weird rules came in, and recently a lot of drivers have been getting the likes of 10, 20 place grid penalties. Now, it is a bit pointless if you're starting 16th, say, and you get a 20 place grid penalty for changing your engine unit, which obviously I'm going to go into it in a little bit, and you're like, oh, hang on a second, you're not going to start like literally 20 places on the actual grid. There's only 20 places from pole position to last place. You can't go any further than last place. You've got to go behind 19th. So that you can't go any further than that. So really, you've only lost 4 places. So what's happened to the other 16? Why award them? What? It really makes no sense. Now, in Article 23, now this is where things get a bit more technical. In Article 23.3G of the 27 FIA regulations, sport regulations rather, it says the power unit is deemed to consist of 6 separate elements, which are the internal combustion engine, the ICE, or the ICE as when they call it, the motor generator unit kinetic, which is the MGUK, the energy store, which is the ES, then you've got the motor generator unit heat, the MGUH, and you've also got the TC turbocharger, and the control electronics, which is the CE. Now you're probably thinking, hang on a second, what have you just said to me?
My head hurts, man. My head hurts.
Your head hurts. My head's steaming right now. Oh my.
Should we just end now? Honestly, I mean,
that's as when things come as technical with the F1 debate show, that's as technical as we've gone.
It's hot. It's hot in here, like.
It isn't there. So basically, that is a power unit. Now, the rules state that you're allowed to use 4 of them elements. Now, I don't mean like you pick 4 and you can't use another 2. Say for example, so you're allowed to use 4 turbochargers within one season. You're allowed to use 4 energy stores, ESs, or MGUKs or MGUHs. You're allowed to use 4 of them within an entire season. Now, I'm going to pick out one team in particular, and that is obviously McLaren, basically, now, obviously, as I just said, you're allowed 4 of them an entire season. If you get any more than that, you get a penalty. A grid penalty, to be more specific. Now, McLaren used 4 of at least one of them elements within the first 2-3 races. It was unbelievable. No, sorry. They used at least about two or three of them units. For them were used up within the first 4 races. That's
one a race, by the way. That's
just barbaric. You know what I mean? Like, they've got to be used within the entire season. Now you're probably thinking, well, hang on. If you're allowed 4 and McLaren's already used them 4, what happens after that? Well, so the punishment goes is that if you use the 5th, so say like you turn up at the British Grand Prix and you've used up 4 internal combustion engines, and you need to use the 5th, you're going to get a 5-place grid penalty. Now, if you use a 6th, you get another 5 place, which means you get a 10-place grid penalty, and so forth. So eventually you get like a 20-25 place grid penalty, and that's when you see all these drivers getting these 25, 30, 35 place grid penalties for changing all these units because you've used more than 4 within the season, and it's just ridiculous. It's just absolutely like unbelievable. So you're probably thinking what is the point in this? Like, why should drivers get punished for this? What can we do to, make this fair? Because this isn't the driver's fault. It's not the driver's fault that the MGK keeps blowing up. The turbocharger doesn't work. What's the point? So Mark Webber did come up with this idea, and actually, I didn't really think about this. Oh, I don't know. Some people might have, but this is the only time I've ever seen it. It's quite a good idea. Is give the team points deductions for every single time they get a penalty or grid penalty, or obviously for whatever units that they're using for these, because that's when obviously this is like more the team's fault. Not so much if like the driver gets a like a 10-place grid penalty for causing a collision in the previous Grand Prix. That's not the team's fault. That's the driver's fault, or whoever's. So I don't mean like that. So obviously that's when you're going to get your most penalties to these engine units. Now that would definitely spice things up in the championship. So if you're in Mercedes and you come in Abu Dhabi and you're leading by a point and you go, we're going to need a turbocharger and an MGUK, we've lost the championship, depending on the Grand Prix obviously, and it's like you could lose the championship by a point from a turbocharger. How embarrassing would that be? Now if you're McLaren, you're going to be starting every single season on minus 30. So at this rate anyways, minus 30, so that is really, really bad. So
very bad.
So obviously, Lyle, very, very complicated rules that we've got in Formula 1. We need to simplify this as well. Now, obviously, just before I hand it you there, Mark Webber also did say that all these complicated rules put fans off watching Formula 1, which we don't need, because some people won't even watch qualifying; they'll just watch the race, casually whenever it's on TV. And if their favourite drivers are at the back of the grid, so say your favourite driver is Fernando Alonso, and he's at the back of the grid, and you don't know...
A lot of time he is.
Exactly, prime example. And you don't know why he's at the back of the grid, you're going to be thinking, doesn't matter, I'm not bothered anyway, he's not going to do anything, why do I bother? Then people are going to keep turning away. But also as well, all these complicated rules, for those who do watch qualifying, or want to get into Formula 1, who watch FP1, 2, 3, qualifying and so forth, they're going to be like, I haven't got a Scooby, what's going on? I'm just lost. So, do you think that Mark Webber's idea of giving teams point deductions for whatever they, instead of grid penalties, is that a good idea? Or do you think that's nah, I think we should stick to the grid penalties. What's your take on this?
So basically, there's a lot of times when drivers get these kind of penalties, and it's not their fault. I always remember, everyone will remember, Belgium last year, Lewis Hamilton got a penalty. I think it was 40 places. Obviously, yes. Realistically, there is not 40 places on the grid. He qualified, I think it was like 9th. And then he went back to he got through to Q3, finished 10th, and then went back to the grid. Obviously, so he went back, 10 places back to 12 places, back to the grid, the back of the grid, and last year. And then he went from that way. And obviously, a bit like what you said about Fernando Alonso, a lot of people might have been only some people might have been thinking, Lewis Hamilton at the back of the grid. What's, really what? Honestly, it's like Lewis Hamilton, it's some kind of joke, really. It's some kind of joke. Anyway, so obviously, Fernando Alonso, of course, he's in a bad car. Being at the back of the grid's not a massive shock, but obviously it is a bit of a shock if you find out that he is. But Lewis Hamilton, he was. So obviously, people joined into Belgium, which, by the way, obviously was the first race of the second part of the season. So technically, it's like people might have, over the summer, they might have been, thinking, what can I watch now? Obviously, a lot of seasons start. Then obviously the European football season starts. Obviously the American Football League starts. And obviously Formula 1 kicks off again. So you might be thinking, obviously, I'll give this new sport a go. Like, for example, say you want to start watching other sports, you give Formula 1 a go. You watch Belgium, the first race, and you'll be thinking, well, Lewis Hamilton, okay, so, I've heard his name on the news. as the three-time world champion at a great German team, he should be dominating, and he's at the back of the grid. What's happening here because obviously of what the team did. I don't know what it was, I forgot what it was, but obviously they had to change it, and then he went to the back. He did it, obviously, stolen race, got through, obviously, into points, which, by the way, we've seen before, but obviously, it's these penalties that, the drivers aren't doing. They're just not needed. A bit like Honda, a bit like McLaren, it's like, obviously, the drivers have got so much, they've got a lot to do. They've got driving, they've got, obviously, to bring that crap car into the points. And obviously Fernando managed it in Baku as well. Obviously, there's just no reason why they need to be doing that. They need to be, kind of being punished for what the team's doing, because that's a bad message. It's basically saying that the team can do, whatever they want. They can change whatever they want, and the driver will be the one that's punished. Obviously, say if you're like, the random Tom who works for, Honda, and you'll be thinking, obviously I'm working through the night, but we have to play something else. But then he'll go home and he'll think, well, I'm not going to lose too much sleep about it, because obviously Fernando Alonso or Stoffel Van Dorn is going to be the one who's going to pay the price for it. You know what I mean? A bit like the guy at Mercedes, who obviously thought in Belgium, obviously I like Formula 1, I like watching it, but obviously Rosberg's my side of the garage. It's amazing where he's finished, wherever he did, P1 or 2 or whatever. But, and then, it's Hamilton who's suffering. It's like, I don't care about Hamilton, you know what I mean? It's like a bit over the top, but yeah. Obviously, if they cause a collision, it's their fault, as John said. Obviously, like we've seen drivers do that. Where a lot of times it's impeding drivers in qualifying. Obviously, they'll get a grid position for the next race, but things like that, shouldn't really happen. Deducting points, that's a good idea, but the one problem that I see in that is basically it's like a lot of teams might say that they can't help it. A bit like obviously the drivers, it's just not their fault, and they might say that they can't help it because obviously, as John said, the MG UK blows up. Nobody can help that, but then the team will definitely say, well, they can't help it if, for example, let's just paint a picture that Ferrari and Red Bull are battling each other for second place. There's about an 18-point difference between them both. Red Bull, they need to replace the MG UK for one race. They get deducted 5 points. So they go down to 13 points because they're leading in the world that I've just created. They're leading, and then they need to replace their engine, which is 10 points. That's a lot. So they obviously then go back to 3 points. Not to mention Ferrari. Obviously they're gaining in the World Championship. Obviously they're gaining with Raikkonen and Vettel. So let's just say they move up obviously 6 points. So then they're now 3 ahead of Red Bull. Then Red Bull might turn around and say, Christian Horner might turn around and say, that is not our fault. That the MG UK blew up. That the engine blew up. That's not our fault. But then Ferrari will be happy because that's happened. That causes a lot of problems, and if anything, that might be where the teams might go maybe more of a defensive about about the kind of parts. But do you know what I mean? Like because obviously then again in another created world that I've made, maybe then they'll think that we're not going to go out in FP1, we're not going to go out in FP2. We're going to do a few laps on FP3 just to make sure that the car's working, because we'll be looking at all the data for the MG UK, for the engine, for the internal combustion engine, obviously all the different parts, as John's just said. And then they'll be thinking, right, okay, the second that looks like it's going to overheat, or the second, some kind of problem detects, so you'll be like, right, okay, Sebastian, Fernando, Stoffel, Lance, whoever, come back in the pits, and then you can sit there, and then obviously they'll be sitting through that, the 3.5 hours of FP1 and 2. You'll be sitting there on the Friday, just in the car, with the overalls on, with the helmet on, just sitting there, just thinking, okay, I'm going out, and the engineer will be saying, well, I don't know, just hang on, A firm, because obviously we want to see if the parts are working. And so it's there's problems from all ends of the spectrum, but obviously as Mark Webber...
And it is also bad from a fan's perspective, because if you're going there to watch your favourite driver as well, obviously, them diehard F1 fans, and you're like, well, I've come down here, let's say, alright, I'm down here for qualifying in the race, and you're like, well, I mean, actually, let's just say you're there for qualifying, and you're like, well, I've come down here to see Jenson Button, or I'm down here to see Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
And he's not out. I'm only here for one day, give or take. It's like, well, and you're like, well, I've just wasted my money.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest one would be Friday. I mean, I think the biggest one would be Friday, because obviously Friday has been FP1's an important session. FP2, I've kind of heard from people that that's probably the most boring session in Formula 1, because you've got Friday, it's the second one on Friday, after lunch, so people have, had lunch, they've had FP1, an hour and a half of, driving about, then they're waiting for FP3, another practice session, the last practice session, that's important, pre-qualifying, you've got qualifying, then obviously you've got the big race. So I've heard that FP2 is a bit of a boring session, but obviously from a Formula 1 we don't think that. But I definitely see, as I've just said, and as Jordan said, you might not be going out, and then fans, say let's just say, for Britain, as obviously the next round after Austria, they might be sitting there and saying, well, we haven't seen Lewis, we haven't seen Julian out, in a long time. Lewis might do like a bit of a slower parade lap to wave. Then he'd be like, oh yes, I'm doing amazing in my Mercedes. But then he doesn't know, we don't know as fans, that Bono has said to him, okay Lewis, do a very slow lap on lean mode and all the different other modes that they have, because we're scared that this internal combustion engine is going to overheat just a little bit by you doing a fast lap around Silverstone. Just go out and wave to your fans. And Julie might even just take the point, no, let's just not go out, because Renault are a bit scared of all this. So there's problems from every single end, but obviously, as Mark Webber said, it's fans, they need to they need to just see what they came for, which is racing. A bit like what you said, they've paid all that money, they've got down there, they're ready for the race, they want to see racing, they don't want to see all these problems. I don't know if there isn't really a way around this, because obviously the FIA, they won't want to just like completely, obliterate and say like you can have all that you want and there's going to be no sanctions. It is hard to say, but I know that there's going to be problems by this way as well. I think the big one is by the teams as well, because as I say, if it gets close, especially towards the back of the grid where the business end is, I mean, look at like last year, Sauber, they had 2 points, they had one more point than Manor, right? What about that? What about if Sauber scored one more point in Brazil, which they did, but then they have to replace something else, and then they get docked 2 points, they go back to 0, and Man is back on top. That's big for Sauber, that's big for funds, and obviously, in realism days, that could have changed, how things are now. Obviously, Man could still be in Formula 1, but that's where it's important. And we've seen battles before, like nitty gritty, as I say, points. I mean, just use my my made up scenario of Ferrari and Red Bull. That's important. Just think about that. Mark maybe hasn't thought about that way too much, but obviously he's on the right thinking, and obviously where we want the FIA to be thinking, which is obviously. Yes, which obviously is the fans. The fans come first, and the fans want to see what they want to see. Because at the end of the day, if you're not a diehard Formula 1 fan, you just like watching cars go around the track. You don't really care at the end of the day about all these problems that the teams are having. But obviously, as Jordan said before, you'll be very confused to think that Lewis is at the back of the grid, and some teams won't be doing any laps on Fridays and Saturdays before qualifying. And some will be doing some, and there'll all be these problems. Points will be deducted, because you might watch a race and think, well, Red Bull will finish higher than Ferrari, but then a week later they won't be, because obviously they'll have been docked these points for the problems. So obviously it caused loads of problems. It's hard. It's hard to say, Jordan, but I like his thinking though. I do like his thinking.
Oh, definitely. Good idea. Listen,
it is good.
Listen.
Yes, it is good. Anyway, guys, so that is the end of the F1 Debate Show. Thank you very much for watching. If you're new to the F1 Debate Show, obviously, if this is the first time you've seen us on our screens, firstly, welcome. And I hope you subscribe. It's just down there at the bottom of the screen. Obviously, hope you enjoy all the content that we've mentioned. Obviously, anything that we've mentioned in this episode, obviously about Fernando and McLaren, Honda, Ferrari, and obviously about what Mark Webber's pushed forward about the points, about the grid penalties, which is very important. Have your say. Just leave it in the comment section, because obviously it's a big topic, very big topic. And as I say, I mean, we think it'll cause, well, obviously, there'll be a lot of other problems. Teams there'll be something else to say. There'll be some other reason why not to do it, but it is interesting why you're thinking like that. So that's good. Obviously, yeah. So leave your stuff in the comment section. What you think will happen about the decisions that have been mentioned in this episode. Obviously, thank you very much for watching, and this has been the F1 Debate Show. And until next time, guys, see you later.
See you later, guys.
Oh, lad. What I did the other day? I got tickets for the 2017 British Grand Prix, obviously after Austria, for the Saturday qualifying.
Really? Oh, amazing! Oh, wow! I've been wanting to go to a Grand Prix this year, honestly. Wow, do you know what? You have just made my month now. A couple of weeks to go, Grand Prix, me and you, in the British countryside, going to reliving Silverstone. What?
No.
What?
Did you mean you going as well?
I assume so, because
no.
I'm your co-host. We've been friends since school.
Yeah. No. Sorry. No. Sorry. Just me.
Just you. Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sorry if you thought that. Oh no. I'm sorry. Or did you think I meant? Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I'm sorry. But yes. Anyways.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean. So obviously for you guys watching. Sorry, John. But yeah, anyway, so obviously I'm going to the British Grand Prix just for the Saturday qualifying. So obviously it's not gonna be like British Week last year or anything like that. Hopefully not. Obviously, as you remember, our bad recording. But yeah, so I'll be going for just the Saturday. Obviously found some good tickets and that. So obviously that'll be good. After Austria, very enjoyable. So what I'm going to do is for that, we're going to be doing an F1 debate show vlog for the Saturday. So down from Silverstone, we're going to be travelling down on the day, travelling back up obviously on the night. Very enjoyable, and yeah, it'll be great. So obviously we're going to vlog everything from Silverstone. Obviously all the the F1 village, obviously all the different races, the Formula 2 races, GP3 races, Porsche race, and obviously the Formula 1 FP3 and qualifying. Basically, what we saw when we went last year, isn't that right, John?
Oh, so what are you talking to me? Oh, sorry, I'm just writing notes down to start my own new YouTube channel.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, okay. But yes, anyway, so I'll enjoy it. Yeah, anyway, so obviously it's like a family thing. I'm sorry, but I'm sorry you thought it was you. I was a bit surprised that you thought it was you. I didn't start off by saying we, but anyway, so obviously for you guys, you'll have the F1 debate show and the GT preview show coming up. As I say, John's going to run off and do his own F1 debate show. But yeah, anyway, so obviously watch out for the vlog for the 2017 British Grand Prix, and obviously I hope you enjoy that when that comes out. So just stay tuned for that, build up the hype, and yeah, it'll be a great one. And I was so excited to tell you, and I just can't wait to go for Silverstone, obviously the home, the mega of Formula 1.
I'm done.